The city skyline used to be my kingdom. Each glowing window a testament to a deal I'd closed, a rival I'd crushed. I was Adrian Vance, a name whispered with a mix of awe and fear in boardrooms. I built an empire from nothing, and I believed the numbers in my bank account were the measure of my worth. The penthouse, the tailored suits, the chorus of yes men. It was all a fortress I built around a hollow core. And then, in the span of a single brutal week, the fortress crumbled. It wasn't a slow decline. It was a landslide. A bad investment, a market crash, a betrayal I never saw coming. The numbers that defined me turned red, then vanished. The phone stopped ringing. The yes men disappeared. The silence in that empty penthouse was louder than any trading floor. Selling my watch, then my car, felt like shedding skin. But the deepest cut was the shame. It was a physical weight, pressing on my chest, making it hard to breathe. I had nowhere to go. No one to call except home. The bus ride back was a journey through a landscape of failure. Each mile that separated me from the glittering city was a mile closer to a past I had meticulously erased. The village of Oakhaven. I hadn't been back in 20 years. To me, it was the starting line I had been so desperate to escape. A place of dirt roads, small mines, and suffocating familiarity. Getting off that bus with a single worn bag and the cheap suit on my back felt like a public execution. The air smelled of damp earth and wood smoke, a scent I'd forgotten I even knew. Every corner held a ghost. There was the old oak tree where I'd had my first kiss. The corner store where I'd spent my first earned dollar. But the memories brought no comfort, only a stark contrast to the man I had become and then unbecome. The faces I passed were a mix of confusion and pity. Whispers followed me like a shadow. "Is that Adrian Vance? Heard he lost everything?" Their gazes weren't hostile, but they were worse. They were full of a quiet, knowing sorrow that I couldn't bear. I was no longer the hometown hero. I was a cautionary tale. My family's old house was still standing, just barely. My sister Clara had stayed. She never had my ambition, my ruthless drive to escape. She'd looked at me, standing on her worn-out porch, and I saw 20 years of unspoken distance between us. There was no "I told you so." There was just a sad, tired acceptance. She gave me the small attic room, the one I'd had as a boy. Lying on that lumpy mattress, staring at the water-stained ceiling, the silence I'd fled the city for was replaced by a different kind, the crushing silence of my own failure. Days bled into one another. I avoided people. I'd walk the trails deep in the woods, the only place where no one could see me. The shame was a constant companion. I'd spent my life proving I was better than this place, that I was more than a boy from a forgotten village. Now I was nothing. I was less than them. They had their lives, their families, their community. I had only the phantom limb of a fortune that was no longer mine. One afternoon, seeking to escape the pitying eyes in the town square, I found myself near the old community hall. It was run down, the paint peeling, a place I hadn't given a thought to in decades. Outside, a group was handing out meals from a makeshift soup kitchen. The smell of stew hung in the air, a simple, honest smell. And that's when I saw him. An old man, his face a roadmap of hard years, ladling soup into a bowl. It was Mr. Abernathy. He used to be the village carpenter. A kind man who always had a smile and a piece of candy for the kids. I remembered him. But my most vivid memory was from a cold winter, long before I'd ever dreamed of millions. I was a teenager then, hungry for a world bigger than Oakhaven. I'd worked a summer job, saving every penny for a train ticket to the city for a job interview that I thought was my one shot at escape, but my father had gotten sick. The medical bills wiped out my family's savings, and my own meager fund along with it. I was devastated, convinced my dream had died before it had even begun. I remember sitting on a bench, defeated, when Mr. Abernathy sat down next to me. He didn't say much. He just handed me a worn leather wallet. Inside was a wad of cash. "It's not a gift," he'd said, his voice gentle. "It's an investment. Go build something good, son. And when you can, invest in someone else." It was more money than I'd ever seen. It was the train ticket. It was the start of everything. In my relentless climb to the top, I had completely forgotten. I never paid him back. I never even sent a thank you. The memory hit me with the force of a physical blow. Now, here he was. Older, frailer, serving soup to the needy. He looked up and his eyes met mine. There was no recognition. Just the polite, tired gaze of a man serving a stranger. I was just another hungry face in the line. The shame I felt before was nothing compared to this. It was a gut-wrenching, soul-crushing realization of my own profound selfishness. My entire empire, all the millions I'd made, had been built on this forgotten act of grace, and I had honored it with nothing. I couldn't bring myself to get in the line. I turned and walked away, my legs unsteady. That night, I couldn't sleep. The image of his face, the memory of his kindness, played over and over in my mind. The next day, I went back to the community hall. Not to the soup line, but to the back door. I found Mr. Abernathy splitting firewood. He was slow, his movements stiff. "Mr. Abernathy?" My voice was a croak. He squinted at me. "Do I know you?" I'm Adrian Vance." A flicker of recognition, a slow nod, no grand reaction. "Heard you were back," was all he said, before turning back to the wood. "I came to help," I said, my voice barely a whisper. I didn't know what else to say. I couldn't offer him money. I couldn't apologize for a debt that was 20 years overdue. All I had to offer was my time, my 2 hands. He stared at my clean, soft hands so unsuited for labor, then at my face. He must have seen the desperation there, the brokenness. He sighed, a long, weary sound. "Axe is over there." And so began my penance. I chopped wood. I peeled potatoes. I scrubbed floors. I served soup to the very people I used to look down on. My muscles ached in ways they never had. My designer suit was ruined, replaced by second-hand work clothes. No one talked about my lost fortune. No one cared about the man I used to be. They just saw a man working alongside them. Slowly, painfully, something inside me began to shift. I started to see the people, not as figures in a landscape I'd escaped, but as individuals. I learned their names. I heard their stories of struggle, of small joys, of resilience. I saw the way Mr. Abernathy treated everyone, with a quiet dignity and a deep, unwavering kindness. He wasn't running a charity. He was holding a community together. One evening, as we were cleaning up, he finally spoke to me about that day, 20 years ago. "I didn't give you that money so you'd pay me back," he said, his eyes clear and steady. "I gave it to you because I saw a fire in you. I just hoped you'd use it to build something that kept people warm, not just yourself." His words didn't absolve me. They convicted me, but they also gave me a path forward. All those years, I had been building a monument to myself. A cold, empty tower of glass and steel. Mr. Abernathy, with his soup kitchen and his quiet acts of service, had been building a home. I never regained my fortune. I never went back to the city. My new life is here in Oak Haven. I help Mr. Abernathy run the community center now. We secured a grant to fix the roof. We started a tutoring program for the kids. My hands are calloused. My back aches most nights. But for the first time in my life, I go to sleep feeling full. I learned that wealth isn't an account balance. It's the warmth of a shared meal. It's the gratitude in someone's eyes. It's the knowledge that you are a part of something, not just standing on top of it. I lost $1 million empire, but I found my soul in a bowl of soup, in a village I once despised. I learned that the greatest investment you can ever make is in the goodness of other people. It's a return you can't calculate, and a fortune you can never lose. Thanks for watching.